Welcome to my channel, and in this video I'm going to look at the solar return, and this is going to be very personal for me. I'm going to look at my solar return for this year 2024 beginning in January, and I'm going to show you guys how the solar return can work. This is just going to be an introductory video. I'm also going to tie in the lunar return, and this is something that I can do as an astrologer for other people. I can look at charts, I can look at years, I can look at the solar return, the lunar return, the progress chart, and I can really help people plan their years or upcoming years and help them really have a better understanding of where their life's headed, what they want to do in their life, uh, things things of that nature. Okay, here is my solar return for 2024, which began in January. We can see the rising is Sagittarius at 29 degrees, that critical degree, and Sagittarius being the sign of the teacher, and it's ruled by Jupiter. And I've had a lot of experience teaching in my life in multiple different ways. And my dad occasionally calls me the professor when I go off on tangents that he doesn't want to entertain. But anyway, we have here the ruler of the ascendant, Sagittarius. It's Jupiter. It's in Taurus. It's in the fourth house. And this year, a little bit after my solar return began, I already had this YouTube channel, but I really started taking it seriously. And we see there teaching, the Jupiter, the planet of teaching, the ruler of this ascendant. It's in the fourth. And to me, it's in Taurus, but with it being in the fourth house, it's really indicating this idea of having, you could say, good fortune in the home. You could say teaching. We could say teaching in the home, Jupiter, and it's in Taurus. There's no doubt about it. I do enjoy doing this. I do it as a form of service for some people, but with Taurus there, I am trying to make a living as an astrologer. So we see that they're very much emphasized with the Sagittarius rising and Jupiter in the fourth. We also see Mercury, the planet that rules Gemini, also being considered the planet of communication. And it's right there on the ascendant. And with the things that I'm doing with YouTube, this is probably the most I've ever spoken out in public, on the internet at least. So there's a heavy emphasis here on being an orator, speaking, and very energized there with Mars in Capricorn, very driven to and motivated to become a well-known astrologer on YouTube with the YouTube channel. And we see Mars is making a trine to that Jupiter, and it's in the first house of self. And that trine indicating within the first house and the fourth house of Mars and Jupiter, there's very much that more of that ambition emphasized between the aspect between Jupiter and Mars. Very much motivated to promote the self in order to accomplish these goals. We see Venus in Sagittarius in the Leo decan. That's another thing about this 29 degree Sagittarius. It's in the Leo decan of, we could say, putting yourself out there, promotion, being center stage, and Venus is there conjunct the asteroid Ceres. And the asteroid Ceres I have in my natal chart on my ascendant, and in Capricorn, in the Virgo decan, and Ceres would be the ruler of Virgo. And with Venus there, there is that aspect of earning money as a teacher as well, um, but also its series there is being a service to others. And you could even say being a healer, someone who's interested in being of service to people and being a healer. We see the moon here. It's conjunct Neptune. The moon is in Aries and Neptune is in Pisces. And the moon is in the third house, and so is Neptune. And the North Node is in the third house. And the third house is a house of speaking out. And in my natal chart, I have an empty third house. And it is something in this life that I will have to, I'm not going to get into everything in the natal chart, but right now, but this is a year where I'm really speaking out, and there's a lot to be, from my perspective, there's a lot to be said. We see there with that moon, very emotional, because there is a long, long history of me wanting to speak out on a lot of things that I have only spoken out in personal relationships, situations in my life. But here we see it conjunct Neptune as well. Neptune being the co-ruler with Jupiter in Pisces. So more of the emphasis on teaching. And Neptune could be considered a planet of astrology, spirituality. If you watch my channel, there is a lot of topics about spirituality, and there will continue to be more. And that Neptune there, you can see my sun is at 25 degrees, and that's the sun, the solar return. Coming back to where it originates in my natal chart, it's making a sextile to Neptune. So there's an opportunity here between the first and the third of really speaking out and promoting the self and what the self wants to promote. We see another planet of astrology, Uranus, in the fifth. And that's making a trine to that sun, and my Mercury is there as well in my natal chart. And it's in the fifth, and it's in the Virgo decan. So we see this idea of self-expression through astrology. I can tell you from my history of solar returns, I don't often have that Uranus in the fifth, if at all, or if ever in the last 20 years. It's also making an inconjunct to that Venus, and we can see Venus is in the 12th. So more emphasis on this idea of spirituality, teaching. And Uranus making that quincunx or inconjunct to Venus. It's in the Scorpio inconjunct. So all that stuff about self-expression and teaching astrology, there is that adjustment where it comes to maybe earning money doing this, or earning, something about having to learn and make adjustments on, considering YouTube, improving things, finding ways to give value to people so that you can teach them what they want to learn, or what they're interested in, things of that nature. And I can tell you that my experience with YouTube so far, it has not been easy. It has taken a lot of work, a lot of adjustment, a lot of paying attention to detail, learning about the people that are using YouTube, learning about YouTube, etc. See the part of fortune in the Gemini decan of Libra. And that is also making a sextile to that Venus. Sextile being an opportunity, it's a very good aspect to have. And that is in the ninth, conjunct the MC. So we could see the part of fortune indicating money through teaching. And YouTube is very much a Gemini, kind of like a Gemini version of teaching. It's kind of scattered. Not everyone sees every video that you make. And of course, there's more to this chart that could be going on. This is the way astrology, solar return works. There's more that could be going on that doesn't have to do with these things, that are more personal. We can see prediction methods. The sun here, when the sun is at 25 degrees, when it progressed to that Saturn in the second, when we really started to see um, the, the genesis of this YouTube channel really begin. And that is actually making a square, an exact square to my Jupiter in Sagittarius at 4 degrees of my natal chart. And square indicating obstacles, tension, and I can tell you it wasn't as if I jumped on YouTube and started making great content. It started with an audiobook. It started with getting comfortable speaking in front of the camera, things of that nature. And then we see here when the sun reached that Neptune and Moon by progression, that's when I really started to speak out more confidently, and I knew this was something that I wanted to do consistently and really give it a good year to see what I could do and what would happen. So I could get more into the prediction. but I'm not going to do that in this video. Stay tuned for other videos. I will be doing many more videos on the solar return, lunar return, and my methods. And I can do this for you. It's very simple for me to do. I can help you learn it as well through consultations. This is how I do my consultations. I don't usually just tell you, I can, but I don't usually just tell you what's going to happen or what I think is going to happen. I show you the charts. I teach you about astrology as you're learning through the consultation. I like to keep people engaged, and I want people to learn themselves the astrology so they can maybe someday eventually do it for themselves as well, and maybe other people. So let's check out the lunar return that lines up with. Actually, before I do that, I want to look at the solar arc. And right now, if you don't know what these things are, I'm not going to get into what the solar return is or the solar arc. But let's look at the solar arc and how it matches up to this solar return. This is the solar arc, and the inner wheel is my natal chart. The outer wheel is the solar arc, where the planets have progressed. And the big thing I want to focus on here is the Jupiter. The Jupiter at 15 degrees of Capricorn. And there's the series that I mentioned that I have on my ascendant. And Jupiter is just made a conjunction with that series and is right there about to make a conjunction with the ascendant. And I talked about Jupiter being the planet of teaching. And we can see that it's very likely that this solar arc is about teaching, really, you could even say about exploring, that this could be a big change in life where you finalize your place as a teacher in the astrological field. And I can tell you from also with that series, I did in the last couple years, I did a lot of astrological work for other people in a primarily from a volunteer standpoint and from a place of service where there was no exchange of money. And we see the planet of service series there and Jupiter coming to a conjunction with that series. I recently had a Uranus transit over that point, which I'm not going to get into at this point, at this time, that had nothing to do with astrology. And we can look at some of the other aspects here. We can see the part of fortune is moving to a conjunction with the sun. So possibly an increase in finance, increase in money that has to do with that sun, which would have to do with some of these themes that I'm speaking about. See, there's a lot going on here with the recently as well with the solar arc. We can see Pluto is about in a year as well is going to make. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Pluto recently made a conjunction with Jupiter, Uranus, in Sagittarius there. Let's look at some of the more closer ones. We see the moon, and this is where we can start to see these synchronicities or these patterns in different charts. The moon is in Aries in the almost third degree, and in this year, during that solar return there, where the moon was in Aries at 3 degrees, the moon will also be at 3 degrees in Aries, making an exact conjunction to the third house cusp, third house being all of that stuff about communicating and speaking out, etc. We see Mars has been in the third house and will continue to be in the third house for a number of years in this solar arc. We see the Chiron right here, Chiron making a conjunction to the North Node. And I can also tell you that in my life, when I've had North Node emphasis, I've had opportunities where work, you see the North Node in the sixth house, kind of the purpose or where you're headed. I have seen some heavy emphasis and heavy opportunities on things that I could do that felt that way. Now, I didn't always carry them out long term, but during that time, the opportunity was there, very much involved in work and routines and things of that nature. And here we have Chiron there. I mentioned about healing, and Chiron is really ticking off that North Node, like I said, with the interest in being a healer. And this work that I'm doing now with YouTube, it's very much routine-like. It's very busy. It provides a lot of work. It's very cathartic, and all those things can tie in with Chiron and the sixth house and the North Node there. We see that asteroid Sirius is going to make a conjunction here soon with that Mars at 29 degrees. And there's much more. I'm going to leave it at that because I really just wanted to show you that Jupiter conjunct the ascendant. And let's take a look at the lunar return. The lunar return for April 4th, 2024. And I'm not going to show you the whole year of lunar returns from January to January, although I will tell you the ascendant, which we're primarily looking at, is full of fire. I see Leo and I see Sagittarius many more times than I've seen in past years. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because of the topic we're talking about here with the teaching with Sagittarius and the Leo of putting yourself out there, wanting to be center stage, etc. And I'm not going to go over all that. I'm just going to look at April 4th, and this is when it really, this is two or 3 months after the genesis of the YouTube channel that I have here. And this is where it really felt, as I said before, that this was the month where I'm going to do this and I'm going to really make a strong effort at making this happen. And we see the ascendant during this month, again beginning April 4th, is 29 degrees of Leo. The ruler being the sun, and it's in the 8th house, and it's in Aries, and it's conjunct the North Node. If you haven't seen my videos on planets conjunct the North Node, check those out. I'll try, if I remember, I'll link it down in the description. But we have Chiron, North Node, and Sun in the 8th, and it's ruled by Mars. And Mars, this idea of Aries and Mars, and making videos, and it's energizing, all that. You do have to have a lot of energy and a strong ability to constantly start over, which if we look back at my natal chart, I have that as well. And then we see the heavy 8th house emphasis on, in this case, you could say it's on other people's money. You're trying to provide value to people so that there can be an exchange of money. And we see we see that Venus, Neptune, 29 and 28 degrees of Pisces. So more emphasis on that aspect of Venus. And it's also in the 8th house. And with Neptune there, and consider the topic of spirituality and being involved. The moon here is in the 6th of work. Of course, my natal moon is in Aquarius, and it's making a square to Uranus, that planet of the internet, astrology, and Jupiter is there coming to a conjunction this month, which as we speak during this month, it's making an exact conjunction as I'm making this video. And we can see it's there in the 9th, conjunct to midheaven, more of teaching astrology, literally Jupiter conjunct Uranus, teaching astrology on the career house, public image house, making a square to my moon, which, by the way, Uranus has been making a square to my moon during this whole time, this past 3 to 4 months. And we see the part of fortune on my north node. So when I say on my north node, I don't have the natal chart on this that I had before on this chart, but my north node is there in Cancer, and the part of fortune is on that north node in Cancer, indicating that there will be money involved in this work. There's some other things I can look at, but I really just wanted to show you those key points, especially this ascendant, and mention that if you did look at the other 12 lunar returns, there is a very heavy emphasis on the Sagittarius rising and the Leo rising, as well as the moon in the 6th house in many of these charts. So I hope this helps you understand the solar return, the solar arc, the lunar return, how they can come together, and more importantly, understanding the value of astrology and how it can really help everyone watching and help people in their lives when they are just unsure about things, want answers, and want some confirmation that there is some kind of higher power that is in support of and in line with their actions in life. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this content. If you're new, like and share so I can reach as many people as possible. And I hope you have a good weekend.